Hi everyone, this is John, and I'd like to talk about the nature of hell. I've always found the possibility of a hell to be a fascinating subject. The religious try to justify it, while non-believers try to use it as a reason to prove God's non-existence. I'm a Christian, and I believe that if there is a God, and He wanted to communicate with us, the most likely conduit in the world today would be the Bible. I'll be using verses from the King James Bible on www.bible.com. So how does the Bible justify the nature of hell? If God sentences you to hell, you will burn for all eternity and be tortured by demons. Is this a true statement? To be honest, I don't know if it's true. I don't think anybody does. I'm just not sure it's biblical. First, I don't believe you will burn in hell. Much of the Bible uses symbols, especially when talking about prophecy, and hell is a prophetic state of what will happen to some in the spiritual realm. Fire is often used in the Bible to symbolize judgment, so in hell you will be judged for all eternity. Second, people aren't tortured, they're tormented. That's a big difference. Torture is something others do to you. Torment is something you do to yourself. There is no torture, fear, or pain in hell. The Bible describes hell as a place for weeping and the gnashing of teeth. You don't gnash your teeth when you're in pain. You scream. That's the opposite of gnashing your teeth. And you don't weep when you're afraid. You gnash or grind your teeth when you feel worried, guilt, or shame. And you cry when you're sad. So you won't be afraid or in pain in hell. You'll be sad and ashamed. Which means the only one judging you for all eternity is you. Third, demons aren't the torturers. They're also the tormented. The devil isn't some dark lord over an evil kingdom that sits on a throne in hell. And demons aren't looking for some reward in hell as payment for corrupting souls on earth. Matthew 25:41 states that there is a place in hell for the devil and the fallen angels. Demons and the devil will be tormented in hell for rejecting God's glory, just like anyone else. And finally, God doesn't confine you to hell. You put yourself there. God has actually done everything He can short of taking away our free will in order to keep us out of hell. He has told us about hell, warned us against it, and has given us a path to avoid it. He simply leaves it up to each of us to decide the path we want to take. Consider the following. If God is truly omniscient, He is everywhere. However, God is not and would not be in hell. So hell ceases to be a place and becomes an absence of a place. Instead of saying heaven and hell, think of it as heaven, that place of God's glory, and not heaven, the outer darkness without God's glory. What does this mean? Hell is simply that place where God is not. And God is not there because those in hell didn't want Him there. In fact, they actively rejected Him. The depiction of hell in Hollywood is normally that of horrific pain, torture, and fear. I know, big shock, right? This idea is perpetuated because fear and pain create conflict, and conflict makes great movies. Well, sometimes. However, there are two movies that have a more biblical representation of hell. The movies themselves aren't what you would call, biblical. But the way hell is defined is, I personally think, pretty good. The Rapture is a movie about a decadent woman who finds Jesus and lives a life of joy, but some bad things happen to her and she backslides. In the end, because of her pride and anger, she rejects her faith and remains in the outer darkness as described in Matthew 24:51. The movie doesn't show her in pain or fear, but rather just alone. In the movie The Prophecy, angels fight a second war in heaven, and a fallen priest fights to stop it. As I said, the movie is not biblical by any means, but the theme of the movie does have a good definition of hell. The character of Satan defines hell as not lakes of fire or burning oil, but rather simply being removed from God's sight and His Word. As a side note, I think everyone should do their own research. www.bible.com is a great resource. You can search on multiple words and multiple Bible versions. You can pull up the entire chapter if you want to keep everything in context. For example, the King James Bible There's only one verse with both the word hell and pain, and it talks about the pain of hell, not the pain in hell, and really talks about the sorrows rather than pain. So instead of saying, if God sentences you to hell, you will burn for all eternity and be tortured by demons, a more accurate statement would be, if you choose a path away from God's glory in heaven, you will simply not have God's glory in heaven. So if you want to experience the glory of God, simply follow the path He has given to us. It's a simple choice.